Hello viewers, here's a Holmes stand fan. This is model numbers HASF 1506A, I think the A is part of it, and the UL number is E90368, and the date perhaps is 80M6. If someone knows how to read that or decode it rather, please let me know. 8 amps, or no, 0.8 amps rather, big difference here. Made in China, serviced in USA. I'm not exactly sure what that means either. So this was another Habitat find, which is kind of interesting because the Habitat hardly ever has any fans. I would say almost most of the time I go, there's no fans. But when one does show up, it's usually either a very rare model or one that I've been looking for a long time. The other fan I got through that was very rare is the Nolasco Ultra Force Box fan from the late 90s. There's a couple other models I got there that were kind of less common. Anyways, this one, I don't necessarily know if it's rare, but it's definitely one of the ones I've been looking for a long time and have been unable to find it. I did find one a little bit older, which is this one, very similar in design, but this is the exact model that I was looking for. This fan is one of the fans I remember seeing in school. This one was in one of my primary classrooms in middle school. It was either maybe 7th or 8th grade perhaps, and then maybe in 9th grade in one of my secondary classrooms there was one of these in black, and it was missing the guard, and I think there was something other broken about it, didn't oscillate or something, but they still ran it. Anyways, so this one was in my primary classroom. There was another stand fan in that classroom as well. It was also a Holmes, and it was very similar to this one, except it had 5 blades and they were kind of like skinny and narrow. Anyways, so this fan, I remember a couple of things about it. For one, I remember it just stunk. It was nearly worthless. When I was in school, not that this was all that long ago, but it was long ago enough that when it was hot out, you still had school. And so you sweat on the bus and you sweat in the classroom, and that was the end of it. There was no further discussion. And this particular classroom did not have an air conditioner, and it was sweltering hot in there some days. And this fan was sat in front of the window, and unless you were 2 feet in front of it, it did absolutely nothing. And the other thing I remember about it was the center of the blades was kind of like a strange rounded shape, and it most certainly is, compared to one like this, for instance, where it's got the cap that goes on there. This has a very unusual rounded center, and the grill is also very pointed like in the middle. It kind of comes to a point there. The other thing I remember about it was the motor was very small, and again, if you look at like that one, for instance, this motor is quite small. I'm really not sure how the motor and the gearbox and the controls actually fits in there, unless it's just some ridiculously small motor. I don't know. I'm not really sure how the air flows through here. Obviously it goes in the back, but the blade is right up against it, so I don't know where it comes out. Yeah, okay, that's a little strange. Anyways, it's got a plastic rear guard, and it's got this. I have no idea what this is for. Handle, and the tubular base. So yeah, it's pretty much exactly as I remember it, which is kind of odd because my memory is not very good. But anyways, it's here, and I don't know if the blades are always like this, but you can see they have like a little bit of a deformation to them. It would not be the first time I found a Holmes blade set like that. Although it doesn't seem like it's lost any of its pitch, so maybe it's normal, I don't know. Well, let's go ahead and get this plugged up, and we'll give it a test run. I should have done this before beginning the video. There is a tie wrap on the cord. I'm not sure if that's original or not. Okay, it's plugged up now. And there's the tilt. It actually goes all the way back, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to leave the oscillation off and get the camera out of the wind stream here. And we'll start it up on low. That was kind of weird. Now it's moving air, but just like I remember, it's not very much at all. Especially for a relatively large fan. Just a very gentle breeze. See, it only slightly disturbs my plant. See if the oscillation works. It would appear to work, but it's a very narrow oscillation. Okay, we'll go up to medium. Fairly noisy, but again, it's a relatively limited airflow, especially compared to this other pedestal fan that I showed earlier in the video. And high. I can feel this across the room, about 10 feet, but it's just a very gentle breeze, nothing at all to write home about. So, but that's what I remember of the other one, so I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think this just wasn't a very good model. The oscillation. See how little it disturbs the plant. Not a strong fan at all. Can't get the oscillation to stop. Now let's do a spin down. I have suspicions that this probably has aerodynamics issues. The back guard is quite restrictive and the front guard is relatively tight as well, especially towards the center. Now when I turned it on before, I don't know if this was captured on video, but it made a very strange resisted sound, and then it kind of started working. So let's see if I can capture that on a video here. Close this door so it's a little bit quieter. Wasn't very loud that time. Hopefully you could hear it. Try it one more time on full speed. You know what is kind of remarkable about this is how balanced the blade is. It's really in the clock, which is kind of unusual. That was a little more audible that time. I remember the other one had a pretty good spin down time too. So I don't think these are necessarily made with cheap motors, but this one, especially compared to this one, really fails in the area of performance. But regardless, I am very glad to have found this and been able to put this in my collection after several years of searching. I did pay the classic Habitat $15 because everything in that store is worth $15, but this is one of those cases where it was worth $15.